Hey everyone, I hope you all have an amazing day. With that said, I have some creepy stories for you all to listen to. I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna put a trigger warning for pedophilia. When I was a kid, my two younger siblings and I stayed the weekend at our grandmother's house, while our parents were out of town. My grandma's long-term boyfriend, let's call him Banks, had moved in with her and would be staying the weekend with us as well. The moment I met him, he immediately gave me the creeps. I don't remember much from our first night there, so I assume nothing out of the ordinary happened. That quickly changed the following morning. My grandma announced she'd be leaving us at home with Banks for a bit, so she could pick up some groceries. As grandma left, my brother, sister, and I sat on the living room couch, watching TV. Shortly thereafter, I heard Banks emerge from the bedroom down the hall. I listened closely to Banks' footsteps. As he approached and noticed he was more so slowly creeping down the hallway, as opposed to walking. I fixated on the doorway, where he inevitably appear, and when he did, he was crouched down, eyes wide and grinning, with his hands positioned as if he was about to pounce towards us. He began running towards us on the couch, yelling, "I'm the tickle monster!" Then pounced on my younger sister, aggressively, tickling her while kneeling over her on the couch. Banks is over 6 foot tall, muscular build. My sister is below the age of 10. My sister repeatedly asked Banks to stop, exclaiming, "I don't like it, stop that." My sister let out a high-pitched scream and began to hysterically cry. At this point, I intervened. It sounded like Banks was hurting her, and I didn't like that he was continuing to tickle her while she screamed and cried. I tried inserting myself between my sister and Banks and told him to stop. He wouldn't remove his hands from my sister. I began slapping Banks' arms, telling him let go of her, and once he released his grip, I screamed, "Run!" to my brother and sister. The only thing I remember feeling and thinking is this moment was, get the fuck away from this man right now. I ran out of the living room and down the hallway and into the first bedroom. My sister followed behind me, then my brother, and as I was closing the bedroom door, Banks caught up to us and shoved himself against the door to prevent me from locking it shut. Miraculously, I was able to lock it before he overpowered me. Once my siblings and I were locked in the bedroom, Banks continued to bang on the door, while he repeatedly yelled, "I'm the tickle monster! Let me in! The tickle monster is coming to get you!" Both of my siblings were hysterically crying at this point. I am now overcome with the fear of what Banks will do if he managed to gain access to the bedroom. Although I didn't have a phone, I yelled back at him, "If you don't stop, I'm going to call the police." Banks backed off, and I heard him retreat back into his bedroom, down the hall, and close the door. My siblings and I stayed in the bedroom with the door locked until my grandma returned. Banks remained in the bedroom for the rest of the night. The following morning, Banks left the house, and my grandma said he'd be gone for the day working. That afternoon, my grandma fell asleep on the living room couch, and for whatever reason, I decided to go in the bedroom to snoop around. I went into what appeared to be Banks' nightstand, and I found his personal journal. For the most part, it was filled with nonsense and very detailed, drawn depictions of sex. Some of the drawings had a bit of a satanic undertone, but at the time, I was too young to recognize or understand what I was looking at. I began quickly flipping through it and landed on a page with a big, bold, black and red capital letters. It read, "If you die a virgin, do you go to hell?" Below was a drawing of a pubescent nude girl. There were two versions of the girl standing side by side, one where she appears happy and smiley, and the other her face is more distorted and confused. Typing this out and re-envisioning it makes me feel disgusting. I don't know how to emphasize how disturbing it was. I instantly went numb and dropped the journal, ran into the living room and demanded my grandma call my parents so I could go home immediately. My sister was ultimately covered in bruises from Banks tickling her. Strange, creepy dude. I was watching a YouTube video where the YouTuber tells Let's Not Meet stories of weird encounters with landlords or in hostels. Reminded me of this one that happened to me a few months ago. Disclaimer, that might not be as scary as other stories in this subreddit, but watching those videos made me paranoid, which is why I decided to leave this Airbnb, rather than risk being the victim in a true crime story. As I said, this happened a few months ago. If I remember correctly, in January or February 2024, I was visiting family in southern France and did not want to stay at their place, even if they offered, for personal reasons which I don't want to share here. Note that I visit them quite often and usually last minute, so I would never book the same place, and I would sometimes book a hotel room which was more expensive but better for me, as I don't necessarily want to socialize with the hosts. Even when I would book Airbnbs, I would always switch flats or studio flats, and not a room in a flat or house where other people live, as I want to be on my own, so this is an important criteria for me. So I booked the Airbnb within walking distance to where my family members stay, and it looks very nice on paper. I think it was marketed as a house or a ground floor flat with access to a yard and a garden. It was probably one of the cheaper options. I don't remember for sure, but I wasn't going there for leisure or planning to have a very nice place for myself to have an enjoyable holiday, if that makes sense. So I really wanted something for convenience and wouldn't pay extra for any kind of luxury. There were not a lot of reviews, but the ones that were few were very positive. So I go to that place with my suitcase, waiting in front of the house. I contact the landlord who should give me the keys, but he's late. I spent at least 1 hour waiting outside, and I'm trying to be patient, realizing at least the neighborhood is pretty nice, and seems safe, even if I need to walk through areas that are slightly dodgy to get there from where my relatives stay. The landlord finally arrives. He seems like a good man and apologized profusely, saying he was in another town visiting his cousin or friends, and time flew by. First red flag. He says they were drinking and didn't have time to sober up, so he had to speed on the highway on his motorbike while being tipsy/drunk. He stops and asks me half-jokingly not to say this at my review. I get a bit serious and tell him he shouldn't drink and drive, but he says he really didn't want to make me wait further. I tell him I won't flag that in my review. Spoiler alert, I will, but didn't want to start off on the wrong foot. The guy is nice otherwise and seems trustworthy. He's very chatty and open to socializing, and frankly, I was just happy I could finally get in and drop my stuff off. The second red flag is when he tells me I will be living in a small flat adjacent to the bigger house he lives in. But I shouldn't worry because I would have my own place, own bathroom and own kitchen, etc. I don't like that too much, but I actually think it might be good because I'm not super comfortable being on my own in a ground floor accommodation, knowing anyone can get into the yard and access the front door. Again, I'm paranoid, so knowing what someone I know is closely in case something happens gives me a sense of safety. God, was I wrong. He shows me around. All seems okay. It's pretty old, but as I said, I wasn't looking for a luxury stay. The part where I would stay is on a lower level than street level. Not exactly like a basement because there is access to a garden, but I need to walk down a set of stairs outside and get into flat through the backyard. This shows mostly when I'm in the bedroom, as I see through the windows that is clearly at a lower level. Next red, or rather yellow flag, is when he shows me a door close to the bedroom, which is the connecting door between my part and his house. I was kind of expecting that, but thought he might need to at least cross the yard or access through the front door to get into the part of my house. He says this door stays closed and it's locked anyway. Not as a warning for me not to try to open it, but more like, you'll notice there is that door. It's useless for you, and what's beyond is not part or what you're renting. We chat a little bit, too long for my taste because I was tired and still also annoyed at his lateness, and not in the mood to socialize. He gives me his phone number because Airbnb chat feature is not good. It's easy to use WhatsApp, and then he leaves. I start to settle down, open my suitcase and get changed before leaving to visit the family. I then go back to the place in the evening and decide to have a shower. If I remember correctly, what I'm saying next happened before I took a shower, because I remember locking the bathroom door, which I never do, when I know I'm on my own, and I recall being quite anxious when taking the shower. So, biggest red flag before the last drop. I'm sitting on the bed and hear a knock and someone saying my name. 2 seconds later, before I get a chance to answer or even understand where the noise is coming from, I hear keys turning in a lock and a door opening. As you might have guessed, it's the connecting door, next to the bedroom. The guy enters and says he can't find his phone, and if he might have left it downstairs. I'm a bit shocked, probably because if he had come 10 minutes later, I would have probably been naked, ready to take a shower, or maybe walking around in a towel, since I'm supposedly alone. I know it might sound like I'm a pussy, but keep in mind I'm a relatively young woman alone in the house with a man in his 40s or 50s, who has control over when he can get into my place at any time. I stay polite and try to tell him that no, I haven't seen his phone. I would have noticed. There's literally nothing except my own suitcase on a couch in the bedroom. He still gets in, speaking a lot and very fast, while I'm sitting there, not fully realizing what's happening and not having a chance to tell him to leave. He looks around the flat, then obviously doesn't find the phone. Then he says sorry and probably asks if everything is fine, if I had dinner or something like that, and then leaves again. At this point I'm really wondering if I should stay or not, since I know you get refunded only if you cancel 2 nights in advance. I just thought I would lose the money for the night that has started. It was already after 11 p.m. and the following one knowing I had booked at least 4 nights. I really needed to take a shower, but questioning if I should. I tried to see if there were available hotel rooms, but it's already too late or booked, or already full. I decided to take my shower real quick, wondering if he could hear the shower and decide that he forgot something else to get in again. Nothing bad happens. I then go back to the bedroom, get dressed as fast as I can, just in case, and sit down and think. I decide that I would just stay for the night and I'll probably be less paranoid in the morning, if I'm still alive. That's when I noticed the chairs in the bedroom. There are 2, and one of them has ropes tied around the armrests. The chairs are in good shape, and the rope is definitely not there to keep the armrest fixed to the chair, as they are just loose. To this day, I have no idea why they were there. I still think I should sleep there just for the night, and try to use a chair to block the door handle in the bedroom, like in the movies. But guys, this only works in the movies. I tried with both chairs, trying to pile them up, even trying to use the ropes one way or another. The handle can still go down enough to open the door easily. I think that at least if I leave them in the front of the door, I'll hear it if someone tries to open it. But the door opens the other way, and in any case, I don't know what I'd do even if the noise woke me up. Again, I'm paranoid and anxious, but living alone abroad, my motto is to never ever take risks for my own safety, as I usually the only one who can save myself, so better avoid any tricky situation. Doesn't mean I never go out, but I wouldn't get drunk around people I don't trust, and I would take a cab if I feel unsafe going home on my own after midnight. I now live in a city rather safe, but had too many bad encounters. Unfortunately, nothing unusual for most women not to be careful. So from an external point of view, this is a story about someone booking an Airbnb with good reviews, with a nice and friendly landlord who's just overly open because he likes to meet people, and the ropes are just a detail. But for my anxious and paranoid self, it is the premise for a horror story or a thriller, where you share the stupid and trusting victim to get away ASAP before the guy comes back. So I decided to call my brother, who came to pick me up around midnight, for me to spend the rest of the night of my stay at his place. I left my Airbnb in the middle of the night because my Airbnb host entered my flat through a connecting door without warning, and after I saw ropes tied around the armrest of a chair in my bedroom, please, let's not meet. I hope you all enjoyed those videos. With that said, as always, stay depraved.